Let's talk about the septic treatment system they want to put in Victoria and why. MP Dr. Keith Martin said it 9 years ago, so there's no need for a septic treatment plant to be built in Victoria, that the federal government and the provincial counterparts are making a mistake, that science doesn't back their conclusion that dumping raw sewage into the ocean is bad. In fact, the University of Victoria, the University of Washington, they did all of the testing of the waters, and they found nothing wrong with what we're doing. There's absolutely no harm, believe it or not. I know the optics are bad. That's what everyone's concentrating on, is the optics. But science does not back the idea of treating the sewage on land. In fact, it's going to have a larger footprint to treat it on land. If we have an earthquake here, not if, but when, and it ruptures, wherever it is going to flood the whole area with septic, and a lot of people are going to get sick. It's going to be bad enough already just trying to survive the earthquake and possible tsunami, never mind this septic treatment plant busting in half somewhere. I can't stress this enough. In every instance, it's optics over function. The fact of the matter is that science does not agree with the politicians that this septic treatment plant needs to be built. So where's the driving force? James Moore from Up Island was the federal Minister of Environment. Barry Penner, who forced this upon us through the Campbell government, is no longer in office. So where's the push? Why do we have to have this? Keith Martin came out and raised his arms and struggled to try and get the population to understand. But everyone says, oh, it's terrible how we push our raw sewage into the ocean. Well, no, actually, that's a nutrient base. If we can control the things that are bad for the ocean, the paints, the pharmaceuticals, and the oils, collection at source like we're doing now, then there's nothing wrong with flushing our septic out into the ocean. It's a nutrient base. It's like when you have a vegetable garden and you get pig manure and you put it all through your soil. What happens? You get bigger vegetables. It's the same thing. I'm totally against building this septic treatment plant. I will not allow for it. If you put me in as the mayor of Esquimalt, I will go to the CRD meetings as a director and state categorically over and over and over again the findings of science. And surely at some point someone's going to take those papers and say, you know what, he's right, but no one's saying it loud enough. I don't care what people think. If I have to slam my fists on a desk and wake those people up, I will. Whatever it takes. If I have to go to the media every time they make a dumb decision, like buying the warehouse on Viewfield Road, I would have been down in the media already saying, look, this has to be bought, if it is, with the subject to the approval of this area being utilized for that particular purpose. You can put a deposit down, but don't think for a second you're going to buy it outright. That was $17 million. Are you mad yet? That's a CRD, which is all made up of mayors and councillors from all these municipalities. That's why you need to vote. It's not just about me in Esquimalt. You have to tell your friend out in Saanich, and he has to tell his friend out in Langford or Colwood or Sydney to get educated, to vote for people that have your best interests at heart. Because the people you got in right now, like Mayor Barbara Desjardins, she fought against the McLaughlin Point. She fought or helped fight against the Viewfield Road purchase. What did she come up with? She wants her own septic treatment plant right next to City Hall in the downtown core of Esquimalt, underground, with a 12-story building on top of it. Wow. Huh? She talks about process, due process for the Esquimalt citizens fighting against McLaughlin Point, and then comes around and gets on TV and says we're going to build it right here. And no one looks 50 feet behind where she's standing and see all these residents with all these houses. Did she give them due process? Or what did she say? Oh, we'll have a meeting and talk with them so they understand.
Whole property coming from Esquimalt Road right back to Carlisle, and all of this space in here.
Barb Desjardins, who's been criticized for stalling a regional sewage system,
These trees will remain.
is selling her vision of plans for Esquimalt's own sewage system. Are you confident that people in Esquimalt are going to be okay with this idea?
You know, I haven't heard anyone that's expressed concern yet. And if they do, we'll sit down and have the chat with them so that they understand.
4 acres in total. Redevelopment would take place behind City Hall and the Municipal Library, replacing this playground with a 12-story tower. A 9-story building will be built on this parking lot, residential and commercial tenants in both buildings. But the grand plan is for Esquimalt to build its own sewage treatment plant underneath.
But I'm going to do everything I can to ensure that we have a good process in Esquimalt, a good plan, fairly quickly, that will say, yes, this is a good idea, go ahead, or no, it's not.
The bottom line is the septic treatment plant should not be built because it's not backed by science. David Anderson said so, Keith Martin said so, many of the people in the REST program said so, but they're not getting the media play because the corporations pretty much own the media. There's vested interests all over this to get that federal funding in their pockets. So you people need to wake up. There's forces at work here that are going to eat up these monies and leave you with a plant that's not required, that there's very little benefit from because it's not going to separate. This plant that they plan to build is not going to separate your pharmaceuticals, your oils, or your paints. No, no. No, you're still going to have to do collection at source for that. So what's it good for? Nature does all the work for us. If we bring it onto the land, then we have to pay for the process of it actually being mulched up into something that we have to truck somewhere else, to store somewhere else. It's eventually going to break and contaminate the water table. What? As far as Seattle and all those goofs in Port Angeles, who cares? They don't have any money anyway.